bail, they make sure they got his dad at the picture. I looked at my wife and I go, yo, is nobody paying attention how they got rid of all the dads and none of the other castmates? The reason I ain't mention them, their dads are never in the picture. I thought that was just mind blowing.
Well, I mean,
Nickelodeon, if you haven't watched the Quiet on Set doc about the Nickelodeon kids,
I'm gonna have to check that out today. Once you told me.
Skip it. If you have not watched, skip this segment because this is a teaser alert, whatever we're supposed to say.
Yeah.
For the last week, they've been teasing this episode, this docu-series. It's 4 episodes. It starts with this guy being approached, Dan Schneider. Nah, that's the nigga who owned the Redskins.
Yeah, let's not mess up names when we're accusing people of,
but his name is,
of documentaries.
His name is Dan something, and it starts with an S. That's the other funny part. Let me tell y'all something. I love when a doc start off with saying, hey, this person lied about their credentials, and that's how they got into position of power. It lets me know this dude went around. He had both his parents went to Harvard. He was the fat kid that never was smart enough. His parents let him do whatever he wanted to, and he found joy in theater.
His name is actually Dan Schneider.
Thank you.
It's spelled differently though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, now it ain't that bad.
Yeah.
So, and so with that, the reason why I'm telling y'all this is because he lied and told everybody he went to Harvard.
His parents went to Harvard?
Yes, this nigga never went to college at all.
Wait, he didn't go to college at all?
I don't think so, bro. And so, but I love to lead with that because at Paramount, they came to this man and said, yo, we want to start a new channel. Nickelodeon is going to be catered to kids. And from episode 1, it just showed you how creepy things would get to. The first thing I will say this, it is in my estimation that they about to figure out a way to get Amanda Bynes out of her situation the same way they got Britney Spears out of hers. I say that to say Amanda Bynes, you know, there's these things that they showed in the episode of her being too close with this guy, you know, them finding Amanda Bynes in the Laugh Factory at a comedy club when she's 8 years old, and he come up to her and say, hey, yo, I want you on Nickelodeon. And that threw his career into overdrive, right? This is after all that. This is after, you know, he's working with Kenan Thompson, Kale Mitchell, I believe his last name. You know, you got all these people. And one of the girls was on there. She said, yo, the director stopped messing around, like talking to me and dealing with me once I was 16. And she was like, the joke is I introduced him to Amanda Bynes, and Amanda Bynes came out, and you know, she got her own show. They had even a creepy episode, bro, with Amanda Bynes in a bathing suit, and she's like 12, and the director's in the hot tub with her, fully clothed. It's like,
yeah, that's weird. And
even you hit me up because you saw the Ariana Grande, like,
yeah, I saw the clips that what they had posted with the black kid. Mm-hmm. And Ariana, and I was just like, yo, like who recorded this and was like,
this is gonna work,
let's record this and put it on television, like, because I didn't grow up on Nickelodeon, because for one, we didn't have cable until I was in college for one,
and you're older,
yeah, so ESPN was like our first foray into, like, you know, cable television. So like Nickelodeon and Disney, I didn't grow up on those. So a lot of the stories that I hear, that's the generation behind me.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why, like if my son was an actor, there's no way in hell I'd hand my son over to someone and just like, all right, I'm gone.
Bro.
And it's no way in hell, bro.
Bro, they talked about how they had precautions set in place, right? So no kid could be not accompanied by adult. So what happened is a lot of the kids' parent would stay there on set all day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they talked about how parents would get tired. Parents would just be like, what you mean another hour? Okay, cool, whatever. This is their dream. They feeding us.
Yeah.
Right? And then one of the dudes would be like, one of the dudes who was actually found out later to be a predator. Literally, he was on registry. Dude was collecting all the little girls' panties. He was wilding out. Wait till you see it, bro. It's wild out. They come to find out he will be the fill-in, like, hey, I'm their guardian for the next 2 hours, so you parents can go do whatever you want.
Ain't no
like
way.
It's so, and he ended up being, you know, he had molested some kids on set, like some kids from Nickelodeon. The thing, I want to talk about this black boy. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. You're the only one who, nope, the other black girl, her mom was there. But the guy, he's a grown man now. You can still look in him telling his story. You can always tell when somebody's still struggling with something. And he talked about how they would put him in a bodysuit and be like, no, you don't have to wear underwear with this. And, you know, they have him in bodysuits and that's all he's wearing on set. He talked about a time where they had this dude rolling around in peanut butter. And they had dogs come in and just lick the peanut butter off of him. And you hear him in the video saying, I'm uncomfortable. Stop. I don't like this. And they kept doing it. That was interesting. The biggest thing is Drake. The guy Drake, not the rapper. From the Drake and I think it's Jeff show. I don't freaking know. Anyway, we should do more research. But
yeah, I'm gonna watch the doc when I get off. I can't find it. I can't.
Yeah,
find
Drake Bell. That's his name. It just came to me. But he had his own show, and they talked about how. And this is the biggest part I want to focus on. They talked about how him and his dad he would go to school, get out of school at 3. From 3 to 11, his dad would drive him around all LA to auditions. And he said he did an audition one day, and Dan Schneider found him and said, "Yo, I want you to come on the Amanda Bynes show." And he comes on there, he kills it. And his dad started noticing how this guy was always around his kid. And this guy worked with Leonardo DiCaprio when he was a kid. And the dad said something that was creepy as hell. He said, I watched a video when they were showing me what this guy did for Leonardo DiCaprio. And I seen the way he was rubbing his arms and holding Leonardo DiCaprio. And he said, I told them, that's the way he touches my son. I don't want him around my son no more. And they showed the video, this guy with Leonardo DiCaprio. And it was like, now that you know what's going on, it's like, damn, nobody ain't find that crazy. And the dad went all the way around. He went to the whole production team. He went to the heads and was like, yo, keep this man away from my kid. And they told him, hey, you're causing too much of a rift. We think you just looking into it. Oh, by the way, the guy is gay. So he couldn't be a child molester because he's gay. They created this dude's fake sexuality to make the dad feel comfortable to have his kid around there, which was a lie, by the way, which I thought was nasty work. When the gays see that in the doc, they gonna tear y'all ass up. But bro, you get to this point, right? The guy, the predator, tells Drake Bell, like, yo, get your dad out of here. Like, your dad don't need to be your manager. And so
they telling the only dude that really cares about him to get rid of him.
So you know what he do? He's already divorced. He says, you know what? For my son to continue his dreams, I will allow him to go stay with his mom. I don't want to cause a rift. He said, the dad is on the show. He said, I told my ex-wife, I said, do not ever allow this man around our kid if you're not there. What did she do? Yo, Drake, I don't feel like driving to LA the next day. Call homeboy the predator to come pick your ass up and drive you around. And since then, the guy boy talked about it. He said for weeks, it took a couple weeks, but I was just raped for years, basically.
That's
and I bring up all 3 of these stories. Amanda Bynes' dad was there. Dan Schneider, when Amanda Bynes was 16, petitioned the court to let her be, what's the word? Emancipated. And it failed because Dan Schneider had sexual assault and sexual harassment charges pending on him because he was a fucking creep, right? The young black boy who they gave him a rap name called Lil Fetus. His mom went, you got to see it. I'm gonna spoil it, but his dad was nowhere to be found. Drake Bell, they made sure they got his dad at the picture. I looked at my wife and I go, yo, is nobody paying attention how they got rid of all the dads and none of the other castmates? The reason I ain't mentioning them, their dads are never in the picture. I thought that was just mind blowing.
Well, I mean, at some point we'd have to acknowledge the validity of fathers, like what fathers provide that cannot be measured for us to actually take, them taking fathers out of the picture, right? Mm-hmm. Like if the fact that we know that, like, okay, it's way easier to exploit when a father's not around, then we'd have to acknowledge that. Well, that means that when fathers are around, they're providing something that's, intangible.
Yeah.
And that's not really something that we give fathers right now. But, to these young people's, demise, right? Like taking their fathers out of the picture, exploiting them. How many times you've heard guys be like, yo, when they split up with their girl, they just like, yo, don't bring other dudes around my kids, right? Mm-hmm. Just that statement alone, right? Hey, I'm not telling you what to do, right? Mm-hmm. I'm telling you what to do with our child. And how often is that ignored, right?
Bro.
How often is it ignored that, like, I'm going to do what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be selfish. What I want is more important than the potential safety hazard of a stranger being around. So, I mean, it's again, if society's not going to take it serious, then it falls on men to make sure that they only deal with women who are serious.
Absolutely. Bruh, it's
and let's not be blaming women for anything. It's not we see, right? I'm gonna go watch this doc this afternoon. And
do it.
You know, we see what happens when you don't have that person that's around that could just provide protection.
Absolutely. And it's crazy. It's crazy. That, like, the whole network of that whole Nickelodeon thing was crazy. Dan Schneider, let me put it like this. He hired a bunch of men, right? He goes to these two women. He says, I want y'all, he goes to them separately. I want y'all to write a show called All That on Nickelodeon. Girls is Happy, right? Because All That is basically SNL for kids.
Yeah.
They get excited. He goes out, he hires all these men, gives them salaries. He brings the two women together and say, y'all got to split the salary. So these two women are splitting one salary, dog. So he got two women writers, and it wasn't until one of the chicks called her union rep and was like, years later, and was like, yo, why do I still have to split a salary? And they was like, that is illegal as hell. And she settled. And, you know, it was crazy hearing her talk about how she struggles with settling now because NDAs are filed. And, you know, what happens after that. I want to welcome everybody to the Ask a Dad segment. By the way, no church announcements today.